Let's talk horror movie hot takes. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm reacting to your horror movie hot takes. This thing could get spicy, it could get bloody, it could get gory. We'll talk about it in a second, but before I get into this thing, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below some of your horror movie hot takes, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And check out the podcast for weekly episodes with myself and my girlfriend Cam. We have a ton of fun with it. That is linked down below, but I just say we go ahead and dive right in. The first one says, Scream is the best horror movie sequel ever made. Crazy how it continues the same vibe of the first while still making a fresh story. I like Scream 2 quite a bit. It's not my favorite Scream sequel though. I really like 5 and 6. I even like 4. 2 is in the mix though. That is a consistently great horror franchise. One of my personal favorites to rewatch whenever I get the chance to, and I'm excited for what they do with Scream 7. So to say it's the greatest horror sequel of all time, I don't know if I can go that far. You've got Aliens, which is maybe technically a horror sequel. You've got The Conjuring 2, Insidious 2. These are all really, really good horror sequels. Scream 2, I would be comfortable having in that conversation, though. Moving on, the next one says, Robert Eggers is not only the best horror director, but one of the best directors working. I think Robert Eggers is wildly overrated. Now, it's a little unfair for me to critique him because I've only seen The Lighthouse, and I know of The Witch, but I haven't seen The Northman. But when it comes to horror films, The Lighthouse is one of his that I've seen, and it just was not my cup of tea. Robert Pattinson's amazing in it. Willem Dafoe's amazing in it. It's wild, wacky, and just a weird-ass movie, but it's not the style of movie that I personally enjoy or seek out when I'm going to go watch a film. So I get why people like him. He's definitely eccentric, and it's just weird. His style's weird, his movies are weird. People eat that stuff up, though. I don't. I was actually pretty bored by The Lighthouse and uninterested, and I read all about it after, and the meanings and all that jazz, if you want to get all technical, but it's not a very good movie to me personally, and I'll probably never watch it again, and I don't check out Robert Eggers' work because of that. If you think it's worth watching his other stuff, let me know, but if I don't like one of his movies, and apparently all of his movies are stylistically similar, I'm not going to seek out his other work. Scream is the best and most consistently good horror franchise. There's not a single bad film in the entire series. Even 3, the weakest one, was still a pretty good movie. It just had some issues and missed potential. I agree, Scream is probably the most consistently great to good horror franchise. I mean, Saw is like a guilty pleasure. Final Destination, a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I can't say Insidious because it falls off. I would probably have to say Scream is the most consistently good horror franchise. I will agree with you. Is this even a hot take is the question I then ask. Let me know in the comments down below. If Scream is not the most consistently good horror franchise, what is? I would love to talk about that down below. But the next one says, The Shining is not only the greatest horror movie, but the greatest movie of all time. Listen, I really like The Shining, but it is a movie that I don't ever see myself revisiting too often. Maybe 1 or 2 more times in my life. Like, it's just not one that I love. It's a very good movie. Iconic for the horror genre. Jack Nicholson is amazing in it. I could go on and on. It's just not the greatest horror movie to me, and when it comes to greatest movie of all time, that's a hell no from me. This next one says, I think Scream 6 is the best Scream movie. I don't think anything can top the first Scream. It's just one of those franchises where no matter how many sequels we get, nothing will ever top the original, much like in the Saw franchise for me at least. But Scream 6 is a top 3 Scream movie. It's, in fact, probably my 2 or 3 at this very moment in time. I do like the setting change. New York really fitting for the Scream franchise. Curious to see if the 7th film actually is a Christmas slasher. That would be a really refreshing way to make a new Scream movie without it feeling, too repetitive. So we'll see what they do with 7 again. Really, really curious to see what they cook up. The next one says, Child's Play is 1,000 times better than any other Chucky movie or the show. Haven't seen any of the Chucky movies except for Child's Play, which is the original, and it was just fine. It was super cheesy. It was like mega 80s cheese to the max, actually. And I guess I kind of have to admire it for that. It's like a product of its time in a way. Is it actually good? Probably not a very good movie, no. But I didn't hate my time with it. It's just, why would I waste my time watching tons of sequels and a TV show if the first one was just fine? That's kind of my logic, so I'll probably agree with you, even though I haven't seen the other stuff. I cannot envision a world where the other stuff's actually better than that movie. The next one says, Halloween is the best horror movie of all time. Hell no for me. And look, no disrespect to Halloween. I know that has a massive fandom. A lot of people get real defensive about it whenever I talk about it for some reason. I don't know why. It's just how it's always been, actually. And so, look, Halloween is fine. It's a fine movie. I liked it a lot more when I first watched it. Obviously, Michael Myers is probably in contention for most iconic slasher. Him, Ghostface, Freddy Krueger, they're all in contention for most iconic slasher. And the score, like John Carpenter's theme, chills. I love to listen to that around Halloween time. The movie creates this aura of fall really well, and there's some good tension there, but the movie is a real slow burn when you go watch it. The kills aren't that terrifying, to me at least. I've seen a lot of other slashers where I'm more afraid for my life as a viewer as opposed to against Michael Myers, and the actual entity that is Michael Myers is not that intriguing to me. I know he's like the embodiment of evil, but his invincibility is irritating. It's super irritating to me. So I've never really been able to love the Halloween films, and to say that's the best horror film of all time, I mean, I know a lot of people agree, so I'm not going to be like, what? That's a horrible take, but I personally really just don't agree with that take. A Quiet Place Parts 1 and 2 are both modern horror classics. I'll put my thumbs up to that one. I agree. And I always tell this story, but I went to see Black Widow round 2 in theaters. This was around the time A Quiet Place 2 was in theaters, and they accidentally started playing A Quiet Place 2, and I was like, I kind of want to just go watch that instead. Like, it's a damn good movie. I haven't seen the second one since theaters. The first one's amazing. They're both really good, and I'm excited for day one. It just got delayed like a few months in 2024, but it's still, hopefully, fingers crossed, coming out next year. Excited to see what they got for us. The next one says, Nightmare on Elm Street is just okay. I actually kind of agree with this. I watched it for the first time in 2020, and I was like, this movie's fine. It's, again, I'm not crazy on the big, cheesy slasher franchises that started in the 80s. Friday the 13th, for example. I know Halloween started in the late 70s, but that, and then you throw in Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like the first movies didn't really hook me, so why would I go waste my time watching a billion sequels where every character's gonna die, and the main slasher will just get his ass whooped the whole movie, but never die, and they'll find some way to kill him, but then he'll really be alive. Like, I've seen this a million times, I'm good. That's how I feel about that movie. It's way too cheesy for me, and I know people get like real defensive, and people are probably typing out comments right now. It's my opinion. If you can't handle that, I don't know what to tell you. The next one says, Us is Jordan Peele's best movie, and it's no competition. Get Out, by far his best film, and it's not even really close. Get Out is like A tier to S tier. Us is like B to C, and then you've got Nope, which is damn near D. That is his worst movie, but Get Out, far and away his best movie in my opinion. To say Us is better than Get Out, I cannot agree with that. Give me Get Out over Us any day of the week. The next one says Halloween Ends is better than the original. As much as I love to sit here and sort of bash on Halloween and say, it's fine, it's bad, Halloween Ends is the worst movie I've seen. I've seen 4 Halloween films, the first and then the new trilogy. Halloween Ends is abysmal. It's not even focusing on Michael Myers, this character Corey's introduced. It's horribly mismarketed. It is unforgivably stupid and bad, and the movie should never have existed. It's the worst Halloween film I've seen. I'll never watch it again, and to say it's better than the original is disgraceful. I can acknowledge that. I know that the original Halloween has its huge fans. I think it's fine, like I've said, you know, but that's disgraceful. To say Halloween Ends is better than that is actually disgraceful. I'll call that out when I see it. The next one says Saw is the best horror franchise. I dig it. I think Scream has better films, but Saw is a very enjoyable franchise because of these retcons and these plot twists. I don't go to a Saw movie for the traps. I have tons of Saw videos where you can hear me talk about all this stuff. I'm not like anxiously awaiting the next trap, like, oh, I can't wait to see this person get completely disemboweled. I can't wait. No. I go for the mystery, the almost detective drama of it all. Like, I go into these movies to see what the plot twists are going to be. And obviously Saw X gave us death to John Kramer. So I won't say it's the best horror franchise. It's one of the better ones to me, but it does have a stretch of god-awful movies from like 4 through Jigsaw. It can get really rough in there. Staying on topic of Halloween, this next one says, the first Halloween is an overrated movie. I think it's good, and I can understand how it was a horror classic for the time, but I don't think it holds up well, and I kind of agree to a certain extent. To say it's the best horror film of all time, I cannot agree with that. Just can't do it. The Conjuring movies are boring. Wow. The first 2 are damn good. James Wan directed films where tension is built from the opening frame to the moment the credits roll. They have horrific elements, moments that will make you hold your breath, almost close your eyes and watch through your fingers. Both these movies are tension done right, and I love the way that he builds up the characters and the settings. Like, these movies are horrifying. So to say they're boring, I disagree strongly. The third film, I'll give you. That movie kind of sucks. But the first 2, damn good horror. This next one says Texas Chainsaw Massacre is overrated and goes on to talk about how unlikable the characters are. I've watched that movie once. I have to respect what it did for the horror genre, but that doesn't mean I have to really like the movie. I think I gave it around a 3 or 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd at the time, which was over 3 years ago now. The movie hasn't aged well for me. It's too gross. Like, the movie's just gross. There's no other way to say it. And then I read all about the behind the scenes of it, and there's some shit that went down during production of that movie that's just, it gives me the ick. So read about it if you haven't, and the movie's just fine. I was never like, Leatherface is so cool. Like, the movie will disturb you. It got its point across. It was supposed to be super disturbing and make you feel gross, and it was effective in that sense, but it's not a movie I'm watching, you know, on a Friday night. Hell yeah, it's Friday the 13th, let's watch this movie. Like, there's a plethora of other horror films I'm going to, so I don't know if I'd say it's overrated. It might be properly rated, but to say it's like the best horror movie, that would be overrating it. I respect it for what it is, but at the same time, I look down on it because of how gross the production of the film was and how gross the movie is. So it exists. It's not one I'll ever watch again, I can promise you that. The original Saw is extremely overrated. The characters are dull and the plot twist makes no sense. I went to bed in my shithole apartment and woke up in an actual shithole. There's no denying that I love this movie. I don't think the characters are dull at all. I think the dynamic between Dr. Gordon and Adam is fascinating, and then the mystery that unfolds between the two of them and how they might know more about each other than they thought, and people might have been lying, like, that all interested me a lot. The plot twist making no sense, like, I'm not really on board with that. Now, a lot of things in a lot of horror movies do not make sense. For example, the entirety of the Halloween franchise and Michael Myers surviving everything makes no sense. But specifically talking about Saw, I'm not going to spoil the movie because I still don't feel comfortable spoiling that movie. But the twist, it's like you could nitpick it. Absolutely, you could nitpick it and how it's believable, or how could that actually happen, or how would this not have been given away. I'm dancing around spoilers. If you've seen Saw, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll never forget my jaw was on the floor the first time it happened. It got me. And it does make sense to me. It makes perfect sense. So I've never understood that claim. Oh, it doesn't make sense. It does. I'll die on that hill. The Invisible Man 2020 is garbage. Enough with the Leigh Whannell slander in this video. First Saw, now The Invisible Man. I mean, Leigh Whannell, talented guy. Talented guy. He directed this film. He wrote the film, I believe. This is a damn good movie. It came out in 2020, so it kind of went under the radar. I watched it on streaming or VOD or something, like, after it hit theaters during the pandemic. But look, this movie's awesome. I think it's really good. And it's not the best horror movie I've ever seen, but I forget about it. It's one of those, like, movies that I watched, I really liked it, I just forget about it. Elizabeth Moss, I want to say, is the main actress. She crushes it. There's one scene in a restaurant involving someone getting their throat slit. That had me shook. Like, this movie has some great reveals, and it's not like the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it's a damn good thriller to me. Saw sucks, and I hate the twist. It comes out of nowhere and has nothing to do with the film. I have no response to that. I just wanted to read that how I read it in my head. I don't know if this is a hot take, but the original Child's Play is one of the worst horror films. We're flaming every fan base today. It's not the worst horror film I've ever seen, but it's not great, if that makes sense. I think that movies like that just became iconic because of how cheesy they were and, like, stupid they were, and now it's like you look back and you're like, oh, it's charming, or it's kind of a beloved cult classic type thing, but in reality, they're not good movies. A lot of horror movies just suck. The horror genre is the most overrated genre. I don't know about that, because you look at how much money these movies make. The horror genre is the most profitable, and it's not even close. Movies can have like $1 million budgets and go make $100 million easily, or $50 million, and have a huge profit. So I don't know if I could say it's overrated. A lot of people show up for horror films. I will say consistently we get new horror movies in the low points of the year for movies like January, September, and they make money, but they have horrible reviews and the fans also don't like them. So it's interesting to talk about how these movies make money, but are they actually good? I don't know. Aliens is better than Alien. I prefer Alien as a movie, but Aliens is probably more rewatchable and fun. It's more action sci-fi, whereas the first film is more straight up horror and damn near a slasher in space, a sci-fi slasher. So I like both movies a lot, and I'm due to rewatch them soon, but I've always given the edge to Alien. This next one says, Scream is cheesy and way too over the top in the original and way too tame by the end. The thing about Scream is it's making fun of all the stupid tropes in the horror genre, specifically the slasher genre, and so the cheesiness of it all is intentional. Like, it's supposed to be over the top. That's the point of the movie, to be over the top, cheesy, ridiculous. You've got Randy, you know, listing off these rules of the horror movies and how characters are always gonna die. And then Matthew Lillard crushes it at the end. He's obviously over the top, but he's damn good playing these psychos who fully believe in what they're doing. I disagree with the movie being tame as well. Like, by the end, just because we don't see someone's guts flying out of their body, like, blood is blood, and I do think our society's become desensitized to violence. Like, the first time I watched Scream, I was like, damn, this is a bloody movie. Like, you go watch the end, like, yeah, we don't see people's insides coming out of them, but everyone is damn near bleeding out in that final scene. Like, imagine losing all that blood or witnessing that much blood in real life, like, there's still a ton of blood in that final act. It's not like someone's getting disemboweled and we're seeing their organs fly everywhere. I don't need to see someone's insides. A lot of blood is still a lot of blood. People have just become desensitized, I think. And this last one I saved for the end because of how nuclear of a hot take it is. You've been warned. Hubie Halloween is a funny movie. Look, Hubie Halloween is a fun movie. I'll never watch it again, probably. It's just Adam Sandler's stupidity. He's got some of his buddies in there. I'll give the movie this. It creates this fall vibe and the Halloween vibe very well. You can go back to my review on the channel somewhere years ago now. The movie's fun in a sense. Is it good? No. Is it stupid? Yes. Is it funny? Maybe a little. But it's got a fall vibe. It's not a horror movie, but it's a Halloween movie. If you want a stupid background noise movie that with Adam Sandler, throw it on. You know, if you want to get in the Halloween spirit, throw it on. But other than that, Hubie Halloween is simply there, and it might be better than the entirety of the Halloween franchise. But that's going to do it for me reacting to your horror movie hot takes. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button. Again, drop some more of your horror movie hot takes in the comments down below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And that's going to do it. Stay tuned for a few more horror videos coming before Halloween. But thank you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.